Tree Talking Time is brought to you by Conkeys Outdoors. Get all your hound hunting needs at conkeys.com. Welcome to Tree Talking Time, where we talk all things tree dogs, from the smallest feists to the largest hounds, treating squirrels to bears and everything in between. And from time to time, we might even run a little fast game. Welcome back to another episode of Tree Talking Time. Just wanted to hop on here real quick and say that we're just over a week away from Autumn Oaks 2023. So if you're going to be there, make sure to come find me. Be somewhere outside in a white tent. Not exactly sure where yet, but I know I have some giveaways from my sponsors. We're going to have some Tree Talking Time hats, shirts, and stickers available. So make sure to come by the booth and introduce yourself and say hello. And now on to Blues Singin' Hounds with Chris and Erin Dove. How about this? How about we talk about the first time I went bear hunting with you?
And that was in Hampshire County with Donnie?
No, Hardy.
No.
Oh, well, no, okay.
Donnie.
I keep...
the first day wasn't with Donnie.
The first day wasn't. Oh.
We hunted with that older guy that was trying to buy Kate.
Yeah.
And we ran into that whole group of guys.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm trying to remember who all it was, but...
I don't even know any of them. Like, I've never run into any of them. And I think you only knew like one or two of them, right?
Yeah. No, I only knew a few of them. Probably shouldn't mention names, especially some of
once
those
we
stories.
get into the story.
Yeah.
What was it, like 25 dogs on the ground?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's when we went to all them, like, slick trees.
Yeah.
I was going in slick trees. I think there was a lot of white dogs there, wasn't it?
I think white,
it was a mix.
red.
There was a mix of things.
It was red, white, and blue.
Hey, but you can say the blue dogs that were there, they weren't really contributing to the...
It's not even like you had a whole lot of blue dogs, though. You had an English dog, a leopard, a couple of young blue dogs.
Yeah, at that time I would have had Django.
No.
Well, maybe not.
He
I may
was,
not have had him with me then, like on the hunt, but I had him then.
No, you didn't. He was born right after that.
So this is before. See, you got my memory. So you don't realize how much I hunt. So like me to put all these time frames together.
She was either bred or you bred her right after.
Okay.
Because I remember that litter was born like right after I met you.
So we came back.
Yeah.
We were in Mississippi.
Yeah,
we came back from
back
Mississippi
for Christmas
and then
vacation.
yeah. So I ended up taking your dog kept it up at the house.
Yeah.
Yep. And I didn't even know you then.
No.
Remember? So it was like Erin met
we
you.
met you at a gas station. I hand you my dog and you just disappeared.
Yeah.
See you in the morning.
Yep. Hope he shows back up tomorrow with my dog. But yeah, so I remember took him hunting I see that record button now, so now I'm trying not to think about that and everything else. But now I'm trying to put it together. That was a long time ago.
Yeah, like you didn't have timber yet. No. Cannon and Rage were like 6 months old, because we coon hunted that night too.
Okay, yeah.
And you had Rage. We coon hunted Rage and a young blue dog, a male dog. It was your dog.
Honcho.
Yes.
Okay. Uchman. That Uchman bred dog. Yep.
And they were like, neither one of them, I want to say like they were like 6 and 8 months. Like they were both young.
Yeah. Well, I'll go ahead and tell you this. When you want to bring anything out of the memory bank and get it correct, you probably should talk to her.
Okay.
So there's going to be times where she's going to have to correct me because I've just fooled with so many dogs and so many hunts and
no kidding.
Everything else that sometimes it's hard for me to remember which one was which and get everything exactly right.
Well, there for a long time, I actually knew everything in your kennel, and the last probably 2 years,
yeah,
I'm clueless out there.
Well,
I know the regular lineup, but all the new players.
Well, that's what we decided to go. Not exactly a different route, but we decided we wanted to really figure out and narrow down what we had in our kennel and what we were going to take from there. And so you show up at my house. I would say in the next 2 to 3 years you show up, you should be seeing a lot of consistent dogs because I think we've really got it narrowed down to what we like and what's really performing and doing what we need them to do. But, to go back to some of those hunts we've had back in the day, man, you're gonna have to help me remember them. I mean, you're just gonna have to.
Well, see, like, I don't get to hunt down here that often, so those hunts stand out in my mind because it's like I'm only down here once or twice a year, if that. So,
yep. On an average week with good weather, I'm out there, anywhere from 3 to 5 days or nights, so like I just do it so much that, for me to remember each and every dog, each and every person, each and every, path I cross, because I run into people out while I'm out there, dogs get in with someone else or what have you. And, and sometimes, I'm reminded of things all the time, like, okay, that rings a bell. Yes, I do think I was there for that. So,
well, going back to my first bear hunt with you guys, like I said, so the next day we hunted with Donnie.
Yep.
And that's when I was able to kill my bear. And after we had some trash races first, and
oh, you're gonna have especially with what I had. I just come back from still in Mississippi, so I brought dogs that I was running on coon down there.
Yeah.
Come back and I tried to get back into the bear game, or at least try to stay in it. So I'd be gone for all year, and I would take a week in December and try to come back and visit. And some of my family soon realized my priorities when I'd come back for a week, and I spent nearly the entire week bear hunting. But yeah, so you tell the story. I mean, you're going to remember it a lot better than I am.
Oh, like I said, I remember we had an English dog from Bradley, which I didn't even know him at that point. Had Gemma. Mm-hmm. She was like your only older blue tick. Yep. And we had a couple of young dogs.
Slater.
We had Slater.
Leopard Hound.
Yep, and then I had my dog Gunner, my leopard Gunner. Mm-hmm. And then
I think Donnie had Britt
and Luther.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I don't know that we had much more than that.
That was it.
Yep.
Like I said, that Kate dog, she never showed up at the tree.
Yeah.
we took her up there, but on the mountain with us, and when we walked that ridge.
Yep. Well,
and they went down to the left running something. Probably a fox is kind of what it looked like on the Garmin.
Yeah. And
then we come back up over, and you guys went down through the laurel, and then me and Donnie went out the top. And that's when Britt jumped that bear right off the edge of the top.
Yeah, I think she jumped it right out of the bed.
Oh yeah,
it was right in a nest, and she. Yep. I mean, once she hit it, you could tell she was moving it. Mm-hmm. So that's when I sent, which I was a few hundred yards below you.
Yeah.
So I sent them right into it, and I think it went 800 yards.
Something like that, 800 or 900 yards.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Treed and I don't know, you lucky son of a gun. What was it? 300 yards up above the road?
Yeah, it was like a straight shot down to the road.
Just a straight drag right to the road. So
see, we have this thing, where when we take someone hunting with us for the first time, I call it beginner's luck.
Yeah, I know.
And it tends to happen.
And then I paid for it. I didn't see
first time.
Well,
and then
I didn't see a bear for like 4 more years after that.
So what? Got suckered into it is what happened. But. Yeah, no, that generally happens, and it's crazy that we see that so often. That just like, just my, good friend I was telling you about from New Mexico, took him hunting, and, rigged a track, dogs ran it over, treated 15 yards off the road. You know, he was like, holy crap, man, it probably happens like this all the time for you. Well, quite the contrary.
Yeah.
It does not. And I said, no, that for whatever reason, if you're new, they just want to show off for you. They just lure you in, and then it's not the same from there on out. You're going to work for it.
Like I said, I got suckered in pretty hard because it made it really tempting to come back. And last year I didn't make it down here, but I made it down to Virginia. So every other year besides last year, I've been down here though.
Yep.
So
well, and I mean,
either early season or late season, one of the two.
Yep. Well, you're welcome. Come down anytime you want.
You say that, but that's about to change.
No. I mean, it's about to change a little bit. We're just going to have to do a little bit a different time management.
Yeah.
I sure hope that it's not going to change my life, completely, but I think it's going to change my life in a very good way. So.
Yeah. Well, why don't you guys introduce yourselves, and then we'll kind of explain what we're talking about, because that's very confusing for the listeners who don't know you guys.
Well,
my name's Erin Dove.
I'm Chris Dove.
and she forgot doctor in front of that. She is Dr. Erin Dove.
Yep. Well, according to Donnie, she's not a quote-unquote real doctor.
Just an animal doctor.
Just an animal doctor.
That's all right.
Well, it didn't take him long to realize when she looked at him, and I don't know that she really gave him an expression, but she looked at him in a way that he realized that he screwed up. He said, "That's not what I meant. You're not a human doctor, but you're." So he's been reminded of that ever since, and that's been 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, it's just a long-standing joke now.
Oh yeah.
What's fun funny to pick on him.
You've been mentioned on this podcast multiple times because I think it's hilarious that here you are, a bear hunter, and you go marry a vet. And I'm like, yeah, my buddy, he made out. He did the smart thing. He went and married a vet.
Well, so you see, in college, I did some extensive interviews, and I did put her through the ringer. I definitely put her to the test, and
that's for sure. I've heard some stories.
Oh yeah, there's some stories, but without a doubt, she passed with flying colors, and I don't think I could do what I'm doing without her. There's not a way. I don't think. She picks up every loose end and then some. Mm-hmm. And throughout from the puppy stage to the finish stage, she's right there doing it all. Definitely.
But the reason things are going to change is you guys are expecting your newest dog handler.
Yep. So we're 6 weeks out. 6 weeks out. We got a little girl on the way, so pretty excited. I tell you what, I don't know that I could be any more excited. I've been pretty excited some of the crosses I've made over the years, and looking forward to some of the puppies coming out. And of course, with those, you have an option of picking and choosing. But this one here, I'm even more excited, and I don't even get a choice. It's going to be a girl, and we're going to love her and appreciate her, and put a dog leash in her hand as soon as I can. I can promise you that.
No, I'm excited because I think it'll be fun. Our kids will be fairly close in age, so especially in 5 or 10 years, and they'll all be running around hunting.
Well, some of our
your daughter will be walking circles around my kids because we're flatlanders.
Oh yeah, well, so it's pretty neat right now. She's actually been to a bear den and actually a few bear trees already. So nice. Erin, she's made it to a few until she, the past several weeks, she's like, I don't know if I can really, pull them mountains and climb over them rocks and down trees like I used to, but. One of our friends actually gave us one of those baby packs, I don't know, baby pack, child pack, but, where you can either carry the baby on the front, switch around to the back. Mm-hmm. So I guarantee you the moment I get to use that, she's going to be making her way through the woods. Yeah. So looking forward to it.
Definitely. But you guys have, breed blue ticks, and I would say some really nice blue ticks and not the stereotypical stand on their head, slow, big. You do have some big dogs, but they're athletic big dogs.
Yep.
They're not.
Oh yeah.
They're very well built.
Well,
big game blue ticks.
So they're not your stereotypical, boo-hooer. Hit a track, let's say they're running a cold track, they're boo-hooing on it for hours and hours, whereas they're just not able to move a track. Well, I don't think we have that. I think we have dogs that, from the ground up are put together, and they got something between their ears to where, when they hit a track, they're able to hold their head low if they need to, but they can also pick their head up and run with it. Yeah. So, and end up having the game at the end of the track.
Yeah. No, and I've seen that. Like, I've seen your dogs outrun or at least keep up with a lot of dogs that would be stereotypical. People would be like, oh, that these walkers that even running dogs crosses that people swear are so fast, and it's like, Django, your big male, is keeping up with them.
Yeah. Well, and don't get me wrong, there's dogs out there that can certainly outrun them, but I think if you have a dog that's, put together from, the pad on its feet to the, to the top of its head and the tip of its tail, I don't know, you can take a big dog and still put them in the woods and expect them to perform because, Django, for example, he is 85 pounds. You look at him, put him on a scale, he's 85 pounds. To look at him, you might not quite think it just because he's so muscled up and ready to rock. But, Yeah, you put him on the ground, and it's always fun. I'm not real big on going to some of these bear hound events, coon hound events, to where like the competition side of things, let's say, and then but it's also fun. We do it, we do involve ourselves in it, and the people we meet and everything. It's a genuine thing, and we love to go do it. But we like to take our dogs that we solely bear hunt them. We start them on coon, and we always transition them over to bear. It's inevitable. I just can't help myself, So
I've heard you tell me a couple times, man, I'm going to have this dog to be a coon dog, and then sure enough,
I can't help it. I'm going bear hunting. I just want to go see what they're going to do. So I throw them in the truck, and we go for it. But yeah, so I take Django, and it's always fun because I'll put him in a dash race or a field trial or what have you, and people look at him as like, we got this. And then next thing you know, 85-pound dogs kicking, dirt, grass in their face, their other dog's face. And they look at me. I had a plot guy look at me. He said, man, that dog is way too fast to be moving that fast, or way too big to be moving that fast. Yeah. And I said, he can get on down the line.
Yeah, and I think part of it is when we set out to breed, probably, I don't know, I guess 5-6 years ago, we made a plan that we wanted to take hunting stock dogs and build on their conformation for dogs that could hold up and hunt day in and day out. So I think we've selected for that, but without taking away the hunt and drive in them. Yeah. So you can get that full package and get dogs that can keep up, go all day.
Yeah. Without a doubt, we've made a huge, I'm not going to say transition, but we've made steps ahead. Yeah. And it's nice to see that we're making more steps ahead than we are backwards. And to be able to take hunting stock and not say we want to, specifically have show stock, but be able to have dogs that, can perform in the woods at the same time, that if you want to put on a bench or a conformation show, they're built well, they're 2 breed standards, and they can, perform all the way around is our ultimate goal. But to be able to mesh all that together takes some discipline. Oh, yeah. It takes time for the most part. Takes some... just takes some education. It takes, reaching out, talking to people, and, not thinking what you have in your yard is the best thing that there is, and understanding that someone else out there has something better than you do. And, if you need to reach out and grab it, you need to do that.
And I will say, you're not afraid to try something from somebody. And I've seen it burn you guys more than not. Like, you try these different crosses, out crosses, and it's like, it just does not work out for you guys. And I just kind of chuckle. I'm like, why do you keep trying this? And it's because you're looking for something that's maybe better out there. And I think it's just kind of funny because it's like, you guys have some pretty good stuff. And for what you do, and I think, like, Erin's a very good judge in conformation, and she's taught me a lot. Heck, when I remember when I had my first litter of puppies, I'm like, sending her pictures, and she's like, that one's built the best. And sure enough, it's the one I kept, and he's done pretty well for me. So,
well, and that's the thing too. We have tried dogs from other people, and we've gotten puppies, tried dogs, and somehow we've always came back to what we've had. Because not because what we have we think is that much better. It's just that we sought out years ago to have what we have, and somehow they just became a type of dog that we can live with. And I think that's key. I think if you can have, any dog, if you got a kennel of 8, 10, 12, I don't care how many kennels you have out there, if you can fill every one of them with a dog that you can live with, that looks good, acts good, sounds good, hunts good, and then you can still take and put in a conformation show and a bench show, and don't mean you have to go out there and win Autumn Oaks, but be able to compete to where people are looking at your dog saying, hey, that's a nice dog, that represents the breed well. I'm satisfied with that, and we've taken what we had that many years ago and we've built on it, and seems like consistently they're getting better and better.
Well, I would say what you guys have built on is mainly one dog / one cross. Right? Would you say that's correct? Buddy and then the Buddy Bristol cross?
Yep. Yeah, I would say that Buddy cross, getting Buddy was, that was an ultimate, just life-changing event. It just worked out to where, how many years ago, I think it was 2008, I believe, is when I got him.
Okay.
And, the guy that had him, was a plot guy, and he had had him. He was the only blue tick he had, and he was going to the Upper Peninsula and buying some big time plots, and he just wanted to move him and make room. So he actually offered him, to our mutual friend Bradley, and he actually said, "I've got plenty of dogs in my house." He said, "Let me ask Chris." He asked me, and I said, well, I'm, I don't know, maybe I have room, And I said, well, let me check. And he said, well, do you remember that dog you led into a tree several weeks ago? And I said, yeah, I remember him. And he said, you cut him, we got like 600 yards. He was 11 months old at the time. We were like 600 yards out, and I cut him from the, from the woods, from the lead, and we got there, and he was hammered down treed. And, I said, oh, yeah, I remember him, And he said, well, that's the dog. And I said, I really liked what I seen of him. Didn't get to see much. And I was young, too. And as young and dumb as I was, I made the best choice of saying yes and taking that dog home with me.
Yeah.
So I took him home. And Bradley told me, he said, well, I'm going to tell you, he was started in North Carolina in a hog pen. He said he was started on hogs, and they brought him up here and put him on bear. And he said that's really all he knows. He hadn't been really broke off anything else. He said, I'm pretty sure he'll run deer. I said, well, shoot, what do I do about that? Because I don't have a shotting collar. I don't have a tracking collar.
So in 2008, what were you, like 16, 17?
Yeah, I was 17. Yep. So, I coon hunted all my life. Started going with my uncle, which is an absolute mentor of mine. Absolute, just a great person in my life, and got me started into the hounds. And unfortunately, he's worked hard his whole life and got older, got out of it, and his best dogs ended up passing away, and he just said he was old enough he wasn't going to get back into it, but he sure did. He lit the fire in me.
Yep.
I'm telling you, lit my, my soul on fire with the hound dogs. And so got Buddy, and Bradley said, well, he said, I got this old, I think it was a Tritronics 500 or something like that, and he said, well, let's go out and see if we can break him. So went out in his back field, and sure enough, there was a group of deer. We dropped him
everywhere down there.
Yeah.
Every time I go to his house, there's like 8 deer in the road.
Yep.
They stand there.
Yep, they're everywhere. So it was easy.
Rats.
Yep. We went out, we cut him loose. Sure enough, he opened up, left out of there. Well, we we changed his mind and brought him back. And we didn't go very far, seen another group of deer. Same thing. Put him on the ground, let him go. He went out a few hundred yards. We changed his mind, turned him around, brought him back, went and put him on a third group of deer. He got down, went over, took a peek, come back, and loaded back on the truck. And I said, well, we'll see how this goes. So, I took him from that, literally took him home, started putting him on coon. Took him to a farm that was loaded with coon. That son of a gun started treeing coon. I mean, he'd never seen coon.
Yeah.
And started treeing coon. And, I'd walk by, there's several trees I'd walk by and see a possum sitting in a tree, and, he'd pass it on up and go tree a coon without even being broke. And, from that day on, it kind of blew my mind that he never ran what I consider off game again. He never trashed, he never ran deer, possum, coyote, anything like that. If I loaded him up by himself or one or two other dogs and hit the farmland, he treed coon. If I put that dog in the back of a truck and went up on the mountain, to go rig a bear, he'd only rig and run a bear. And the amount of coon and bear that dog was on each and every year would blow your mind.
Yeah.
So that's what really, really grabbed my attention.
He set the bar high.
He set the bar high, and there's a lot of good dogs out there. I don't care what color they are. I've seen a lot of good ones. And he just happened to be blue, So he really grabbed my attention, and he told me, that's what I wanted to go for. And ever since then, I've dabbled in a few other breeds just to kind of see what was out there and, see if anything really suited my fancy. And there wasn't anything that did. And from there on, I've kind of just bred off of that and tried to keep that going. But what was he? Anderson. He's a Anderson Blue Jake and a River's Edge Pudding.
Yeah.
Bred dog. And then an older feller in Virginia had a litter mate sister named Jenny.
Okay.
Yep. So he ended up having a litter mate and got to hunt with her all the time. And I'm telling you, for two representatives of that cross, and that bloodline and that breed, like, you just couldn't ask for better performers. I'm talking from, when I say from the ground up, they were just put together right and put them on the ground, and they were going to perform and usually outperform.
Yeah.
But no, I can definitely go back to to Erin and what we do and how I couldn't do things without her, from the very puppy stages and the puppy development and just overall health. Her being a vet, oh my gosh, it's not that it really saves the pocketbook, but it really saves the the humility, the everything that goes with it of trying to raise puppies, and having the option of doing things right and doing the things wrong. We get to do things right.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I'd always been able to do that or made the proper and correct choices, raising a puppy from the ground up without her.
Oh yeah.
And then when, we started putting dogs on the ground, started watching them move and started putting dogs on the bench, it was her that was like, this is what you need to be looking for. When a dog stands up there, you square it up, how does it stand naturally? Because you can put a dog on a bench and kind of tweak it and make it stand how you want to win a bench show if you need to. But, to be able to look at a dog and how they naturally gait, how they naturally, just perform overall, I don't know that I could have done that without her. So she can elaborate on that, because I think that's key. I think, if you got a dog that is put together properly, and I feel like if you have a big game dog, especially, running in the terrain and, the landscape that we do, if you have a big game dog that runs as hard as they do, as often as they do, and they don't break down and fall apart, I feel like you naturally can select for good conformation, good feet, good things like that. But I feel like Erin really should elaborate on it, because it's, that's very important, and it's a good topic to, to really key off, because without the very foundation of a dog, you really don't have much. But, the way I see it, if you got good conformation, you've got heart and drive, you can have a good hound.
Yeah, I mean, I guess when I evaluate them, usually 6 to 8 weeks is when I'm starting to look at their conformation pretty hard. I think that's, in my experience, what they end up looking like when they're older, about that age. I'm looking at their front shoulder angle, their rear angle. I don't want a straight shoulder dog. They're going to break down in the front. If you don't have much rear angle, you don't have a lot of drive getting up over the mountain. Feet are big here because we have a lot of rocks. If you've got a flat-footed dog, I mean, they're just not going to make it very far before their foot's sore. And, I mean, we look at those things, straight legs and nice top line, make sure we don't have any sway backs or anything like that. But I think, that's the key, really, when it comes down to performance. You obviously have to take into account your breed and what they look like and their type, too. But for us, we kind of start at the conformation, how is it going to affect their running ability, and then always want to have that full package where we've got a nice houndy head and good ear set and everything there. But you kind of have to pick your important parts too when you're hunting dogs.
Yeah, you pick the important parts first, and then
build on
once you establish on that, then you can build on it, and then you can really start getting picky and and pick your type. If you want certain patterns, if you want lighter tick, more black splotches, or and for us, of course, we're not really prejudiced as far as what a blue tick is, as long as they look, act, and sound like a blue tick and overall perform like a blue tick. But we do have some all blue ticks, and we have tan trim. So for us, it really doesn't make a difference which we have in our kennel, as long as they represent their breed well. So there's always that.
Conkey's Outdoors is proud to be a sponsor of Tree Talking Time. Family, hunting, tradition is the Conkey's motto. They understand the importance of passing down the tradition of hound hunting. They are a family-owned business that treats you like family. They also understand the importance of having the gear you need when you need it. Conkey's carries everything for your next hunt, and it ships to your door quick. They also offer great warranties on all tracking systems and financing options. Check them out at conkeys.com. You can also use the code TreeTalkingTime5 in all caps to save as well. I know I've learned a lot from Erin, like I said, with the confirmation stuff, and just seeing you guys have had a lot of dogs come through here that for some reason like didn't hold up or wasn't built right, and you've kind of pointed that out to me because and especially for coon hunting, it's like it just, you don't see those dogs fall apart like you do here, and so and also it just doesn't seem to matter as much because especially where I live, terrain wise, we're not putting as much strain on a dog that like you guys are, and so
we'll sometimes, we've had 15-mile races and running, he runs pretty much the whole month of December, so you're looking at probably 25 days straight, and it's rare for them to take, they'll take a day off every now and then when they need one, but Django, I think maybe 2 or 3 days the whole month of December.
And he's the 85-pound dog.
Yep.
He's just, he's put together the way he is, and that truly helps. I'm telling you, it makes all the difference. And, just like she said, it was roughly this time last year. I think it was a little earlier. It was might have been the end of May, early June. Ended up having a 15-mile race, and it wasn't really warm, but it wasn't really cool either.
Yeah.
I do remember one thing: the river was cold. But they made a 15-mile race and kept a bear treed for 6 hours until I could get there.
Wow.
Had a split race, had another dog, had a bear treed, went and got it, gathered up 2 puppies that fell behind, and by the time I got to them, where I turned them loose to where they would blow your mind. It didn't even make sense for them to be that far. But they were treed, had the bear, had to swim the river. That was a little sketchy. That was one for the books. That was one I picked up a 6-pack on the way home. To have dogs that can do that, and like I said, there's all kinds of dogs out there, different breeds, different from all, different colors, all have 4 legs and a tail, or a stub tail, whatever suits your fancy. But,
for all you cur dog guys, that's him popping shots off at Fossil over here, my little bobtailed leopard dog.
Yeah. But no, it just really comes down to, when you walk out and you gotta live, and work with those dogs 365 days a year. There's no off.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that kind of sets hound hunting apart from a lot of other things. You don't have the option of just put it up for a month or 2. It's every day you're cleaning out kennels. You're feeding, watering, you're evaluating each and every dog, as far as body condition,
and especially with the amount of dogs you have out here.
Yeah.
How many are there now?
So there's
9 adults.
So 9 adults, including a year-old and a 7-month-old, and then 6 puppies. And I think we're crazy in a way, but also I think it's a very good choice. But we're keeping 5 of those 6 puppies.
I think it was probably 2 years ago. Aaron's like, we're trying to get down to 10, no more than 10.
Yeah,
and I think you did for a little while.
We always get there short term,
and then he's like, well, I think I'll just keep 4 off of this litter.
Yeah. So what we have in the yard now, the 6 puppies that we currently have out here are 2 different crosses. One was a plain cross, for us that we made in house, and then one was actually, a cross that was made it was actually made in New Mexico, and then we had the female shipped up, primarily just because, Miss Professional veterinarian over here, just because she, she has a lot of knowledge. She studied a lot of repro, and she's currently, doing a lot on her own with the clinic. Her and one of the technicians actually sold out, reproduction, actually, collecting, freezing, storing semen and all that, and all the AI. Even she can elaborate on that if you need to.
Well, I think you said that female got brought up here for that reason. It sounds like it was a good thing she did.
Well, it was a very good thing. A really, really nice hound. A little bit older, so she was 7 years old. So actually tried to make a cross years prior with frozen semen, had a false pregnancy, live bred her the time before last to the same sire that we have this last time. And she had all the symptoms of being pregnant. She filled out, showed milk, the whole 9 yards, and then next thing you know, nothing happened. And he actually took her to a local vet, and they said, well, she must have just absorb the puppies or what have you. And so he's like, man, this isn't going to happen. I don't know what to do. And I said, well, if there's any way I can help, count us in, because that's something that we're interested in, and it's certainly a bit of a different line of dogs within the blue tick breed that we wouldn't mind taking on and having a few at our house. And he actually wanted to ship her up here, and for me to breed her, to one of my males. And I said, well, listen, I can certainly do that, but if at all possible, you really need to breed her to the male you have at your house, because those dogs line up well, just that line of dogs. I think, to reproduce what you have there and send some of it here, I think I personally, and I know he would too, would like to have that. So he did, and so shipped her up. She had a full pregnancy, was due in labor, and was struggling. And so I got home from work, and Erin, she was at work, and I messaged her and I said, listen, she's struggling. She should be having her puppies. And well, she ended up giving me some doctor advice. So I ended up giving her an injection of oxytocin, and then waited approximately 30-40 minutes and ended up giving her another dose. And she still wasn't giving birth, and Erin, she said, bring her in ASAP. We have to do an emergency C-section. So shipped her, put her in the truck, took her in, and it was something else, because every technician in there, they kind of dropped what they were doing. We got nice. the female up on the table, got her taken care of, got her opened up, and we pulled 7 puppies out, and everybody had a puppy in their hand, reviving them, cleaning them, just getting them going, compressing them, getting their heart, their heart pumping, getting their lungs working. And for me, I mean, I've always, I grew up on the farm. I've done that with calves, I've seen goat births, seen all that stuff and whatnot. But to see that with hounds was something different. It was a little more special, I think, because I think I'm a little more attached to these hounds than I am, some of the livestock I've raised in the past. But to be able to do that and see that was something else. And to have Erin there, because she was giving me that advice. She was telling me what I needed to do, when I needed to do it. And I know the gentleman in New Mexico, he felt the same way. He just didn't have that guidance. He didn't have someone with that knowledge to be able to say, listen, this is what we need to do. This is how we need to do it. Yep. And she was able to do that. So, that was pretty special.
Yeah,
and,
litter that wasn't supposed to happen. That it did finally.
Yep.
So.
It was a litter that wasn't supposed to happen, and that female was the last female, the last of her breed. or the last of her bloodline.
Okay.
Yep, the last of her bloodline. She was the very last one. And, for that to happen was pretty special. And we actually, one of the males ended up, he was just, I don't know if he was in the wound, too long and, whatnot, but he came out extremely weak and, he didn't make it. So we ended up getting 6 out of that litter. And we actually decided just to split the litter.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it was a lot of work in the litter. Mama didn't make a lot of milk, so there was supplemental bottle feedings involved. And
well, it started with tube feeding.
Yeah.
It was tube feeding and then bottle feeding and then, just supplementing the rest of the litter. It was a lot of work and, they're 13 weeks old now, but, time will tell if it was all worth it, but I sure feel like it was.
Yeah.
To be able to look out in my yard, in my kennels and see them out there, I feel pretty lucky to have them, to be honest with you.
Definitely. Well, why don't we get into some more stories? I want to hear the story of that bear that you guys treed recently on the fence post.
Okay.
I think it's a cool picture, so.
Well, yeah, it was a pretty good one. So, we actually had a few friends that actually rigged along with us. So we rigged up along the river, and I don't know, I think we rigged probably a good 15 miles. And so we got up around there and, some friends that we knew but really haven't hunted with. And so they didn't really know my dogs, which it's always entertaining. And so my dog's rigged, and I said, I got a track here. I said, I'm going to put them down if you guys want to put your dogs with them. And so I put my dogs down. They left out of there. I'm talking wide open. When I say box shaker, it was a box shaker. And so when I dropped the tailgate, I wasn't trying to feed one in, get it started. I was sending them all.
Yeah.
And so we sent them on out through there, and they got their dogs out. They had 3 dogs. 2 of them went. 1 of them didn't. And the one that came back, they kind of was questioning things. They're like, hey, this dog, it didn't go. Like, what's going on? I said, hey, I'm not sure. My best deer dog struck, and I packed him up. Well, apparently I was, I wasn't deliberate, to make them put their dog back in the truck. But I was apparently pretty serious, and I didn't mean to. And Erin looked at me. She was
even when you joke around, you don't come off as joking most of the time.
Yeah. So Erin, she looked at me. She's like, I can't believe you just said that. Well, I just walked around the truck laughing, closed my tailgate and whatnot, and they look up at me, and I'm still smiling. They're like, you being serious? I said, no. They'll have that they'll have that thing treed here soon, and I think they went a good 800 yards and treed, and. So we got around there, and luckily that was one of those that we ended up getting in pretty close to, and it was up,
yards from the road, I think.
Yep, 50 yards, and it was super, super thick in there, and them dogs had a thing bayed. It was almost like an old fence post. They had it about 6 feet up off the ground. It was just up. I don't even know how it kept its balance on there. Yeah. So it was the dogs, of course, they're up on the post, they're kind of jumping up at it and whatnot. And he's trying to, give them some grief and teach them respect. And he's swatting at them, and he's keeping his balance the entire time. And, at one point, of course, I didn't, but I could have petted him. I was right there. He was right there in my face. And of course we just went ahead. And a lot of times, I here recently, I've just gotten to where I don't really like to leash up dogs, leading from a tree, especially Erin, being pregnant and everything. And I told her, so we're just going to make sure that, we can put a good handle on these dogs, which we have over the years. But I really started pushing it even on the youngest dogs now. But that was one where I was like, we better take leash, So we leashed him up, and no more than we got him leashed up, he piled off that post and took off. So it was a pretty neat deal. It was actually a good frame bear, a good size bear, but it was one of those, we talked about earlier before we started recording. But it was one that had a little mange on it. I was kind of sorry to see. Luckily we don't see it a lot yet, but we're seeing it more often than what we were, say, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But. Yeah, I'm telling you, to fulfill our lives with, anything else, all these other folks, they've got all, everything else that they do to keep themselves occupied and entertained. I don't know. You could take my hounds from me, and I just don't know that I could do anything else and be more satisfied.
Yeah.
I don't think I could be as satisfied. But to have a new baby girl on the way, I'm telling you, that gets me excited, gets me pumped. Not only that I gotta, I've trained the wife. I'm still training the dogs, but I get to train a little bear hunter to be.
Yep.
So it's man, good stuff.
One other thing I wanted you to talk about is I actually mentioned to you a couple weeks ago on the Daryl Fry podcast because he was a government hunter and did that for his entire career pretty much. And I mentioned you, and that's basically what you do. I mean, you don't get to go chase lions and bears with your dogs, but you still have a pretty cool job that.
Yep.
And why don't you kind of explain what that looks like here,
Okay. Well, unfortunately, we don't have, the situations where I can really utilize my hounds, But so I do work for USDA, APHIS, Wildlife Services.
Yep.
So essentially we just mitigate, strategies and management plans just to allow, humans and wildlife to coexist. So, you're always, with all these new developments and all, our very own population expanding the way it is, they're moving into wildlife zones, wildlife habitat. And so, moving into wildlife habitat, they're pushing wildlife out, and they're trying to live with the ones, that reside there as well. So it's a very broad spectrum of what I do, and that's an entirely different podcast on its own.
Oh, yeah, I know.
But
I just wanted you to kind of mention it because, like I said, I probably did a very poor job of explaining. I'm like, I know you trap some beavers like under culverts, and I know airports sometimes like the birds and stuff can be a problem on them, and you kind of try to mitigate that stuff. But like other than that, I really don't. You fly over and drop your rabies baits and stuff. Just little bits and pieces that I do know you do.
Yep. So we do. So we work with the National Rabies Management Program. So we're consistently throughout the year utilizing roadkill, collecting brain stems to test for rabies. And then we actually, areas that, we have a spike, in rabies, and then we'll go in, and bait, so we have a few different types of rabies baits and a few different applications as far as, putting them on the landscape. One, we'll start with our fixed wings, we'll start in our King Air airplanes, and then we usually start, in Maine, actually be starting next month. And then it's essentially all the way down the East Coast, and then we'll cover all those huge rural zones, with the King Airs. And then, once we get into a little bit of the tighter areas, your more urban areas, we'll actually go out with a helicopter because we can kind of fly over and kind of really cover our grids, and put those baits where they need to be. And then, different areas where we're actually in town, you get behind a government truck, say, August to September, you're going to be like, hey, I don't know what I lost my train of thought there. Them government people are doing, but those government employees are riding around in their pickup trucks just chucking stuff out the window. So we do get calls, every once in a while. Of course, we go ahead and put it in, different headlines, different, just newspapers, Facebook posts, what we can to kind of provide information to the public. So kind of, just eliminate some of them phone calls. But so for you coon hunters, you're welcome. So we target essentially any mammal that is a rabies vector that ingests the vaccine is essentially vaccinated for rabies.
Okay.
But primarily we are targeting raccoons.
Yeah.
So that's one big thing. We work with feral swine. We work anywhere from livestock protection. Going out, whether you have poultry, if you have sheep, goats, cattle, horses, essentially any livestock, as a farm that we can go out and kind of do some predator control there, and that generally consists of coyotes.
Yeah.
So and there's several different methods of dealing with the coyotes as well. And then, like I said, it goes from that, black vulture trapping, goose roundups to, working on the airports, and of course anything, once you get on an airport, anything inside the fence, we do our best to manage. A lot of it is non-lethal stuff, but a lot of just deterrence, harassment, and whatnot, just to provide safe landing for them airplanes.
Yeah. No, like I said, we've had some cool conversations over the years of just different stuff you've done, and that's why and when I mentioned you a couple weeks ago, so that's why I figured since I had you on, I'd let you give the 2-minute spiel about what you do.
Well, one of these days, I'm sure hoping to get some phone calls to be able to load up my hounds and go do some. I don't know that I'll ever get the chance anytime in the near future, but even some black bear work.
Yeah.
That's a species in our state is managed by the DNR. So the Division of Natural Resources, they're the ones that kind of manage that.
Gotcha.
But there's been a time or two where I was contacted and said, be on standby, but
there you go.
Unfortunately they took care of it before I got the chance to.
Yep.
Some of them Western USDA guys, I tell you, they got them made. There's some guys that load up a horse trailer that have, they've got living quarters. They've got, a section for their hounds, and then they've got a section for horses and mules, in the back. And they go out in the back country completely, off the grid, living out of that thing, and, no cell phone service, and running, whether it's bear or mountain lion, what have you, off those big ranches out of the bottom land from the livestock back up in the mountains. And, I wouldn't want to, leave the wife and new baby, but one of those opportunities sure would be hard for me to pass up.
You have to time down, Aaron.
Yeah.
Well, you already asked about that. There was one in Florida, I think, where they were looking for someone to run black panthers and bobcats with their dogs, and he's like, "You think I could go do that?" I said, "Not right now."
Yeah, that was an opportunity. Otherwise, I would have been glad to jump in there, load up some hounds, and go for it.
Maybe one day. So, anything else you guys want to talk about?
Well, anything you want to talk about?
Where can people find your Facebook page?
She's the Facebooker, Aaron, so you give them that.
Dove's Blue Singin Hounds. It's our Facebook page.
So everyone, if you actually like blue ticks, I know my
if you actually like blue ticks.
No, I'm saying my audience is not it's not a big blue tick audience. I think majority of the listeners, I would say probably the largest portion are probably cur dog people. So
yeah.
Well, I'll say that they handle like cur dogs.
Like I said, you guys have good blue ticks. I have been very surprised.
Yeah. Oh, and anybody can sit down and brag about what they have. You know what I mean? And everybody wants to, but be honest with you, we are not naive to what is going on. We're very realist, and we look out and we see a dog doing something it shouldn't be doing, we correct it.
Yes.
And if not, there's other ways of taking care of it. But, that's one thing that we strive to have is dogs that not one that we can live with, but all of our dogs can live with each other. If we go hunting with someone else, that we're not going to have a problem, know, and to be able to have dogs that, I'm telling you, sometimes these blue ticks, they can be quite hard-headed, and I don't think they're dumb. I've seen them do things that really surprise me, so I do think they have something between their ears. But every once in a while, they can get quite stubborn, and but to be able to put a handle on that and tone it back just enough that you're not really taking anything from them, you're not really taking any hunting qualities, but to put a handle and be able to call them off of a bear tree and get them to the truck, go down the road, and put them on another bear track, and they're going to take it to another bear tree. You know what I mean? To be able to do that time in and time out makes a huge difference for us. And,
the older you get, the more you enjoy the handle on a dog, I think.
Appreciate it a lot more. And you can tell your listeners, or I'll tell them, I'm a big old boy. You don't want to mess with me. But
he's 140 pounds soaking wet.
I don't know if I should say it. 130.
Oh my.
130.
I said soaking wet. I mean, come on. I was trying to.
Well, and the wife is.
You're trying to brag how big you are. I was trying to give you a couple pounds here.
Well, I appreciate it, but no, as small as I am, I do get out there, and I've been out with 8 hounds before. That's a handful. Buddy, that's a handful, especially when you get there and a bear's antsy in a tree and trying to come out, and you're there by yourself and you look around, there's no one else to grab dogs, no one else to help you to handle. You learn to put a handle on them. You learn that, in dire situations, you need to have that control. You got to have, the ability to tone and call a dog, just for its own safety, and to be able to manage that. And that's something that, we decided we were going to do. And, neither one of us are very big. And, we do have an 85-pound dog and an 82-pound dog, and the rest of them are 70 and below. But we're, I would say long term we're trying to size down just a little bit. That 80-pound mark is a little bit much for me, and it's a little bit much for what I think they need to be.
Yeah.
So eventually we're working on that, and I think these next puppies that we have coming up is going to make a big difference, just overall, just generally in what we have in our kennel and whatnot. But
no, and I agree with you on the handle thing. I remember a couple years ago, Rio was actually pretty young, and he was maybe a year and a half old, and we'd shot a coon out, and I didn't have a game bag or anything, so I had to carry the coon out. Well, he just wouldn't leave it alone, and the guy that was with me, I kind of got on to him about it. And the guy's like, "Are you sure you want to get on to him?" I'm like, "It's a dead coon. He needs to learn to leave it alone." Like, I don't want to, break my dog off of a coon, but at the same point, he needs to learn
when it's done.
Yep.
Because I've got to carry this thing, 600 or 700 yards back to the truck.
Yep.
And I was like, I'm not going to sit here and fight with a dog, play tug of war all the way back to the truck.
Exactly. Well, so I call that, just as simple as an on and off switch.
Yeah.
This you're doing your job. I expect you to do your job and do it now. But when we're done, I tell you we're done. We're going back to the truck. Mm-hmm. Turn it off. Turn it off. And just like in the kennel. It's just something to have a pacing, barky dog, stamping through its, its crap and everything else. Like, that's just a bit much. I love drive. I want a dog that has drive, but I want a dog that when you look out in the kennel, they could be laying on their box, in their box, out in front of their box. They can, just be a very sensible and reasonable dog. Mm-hmm. But when it's time to go, buddy, they're gone, and you look at them. If you come to the house on any given day, they're typically just laying around, just your typical lazy old hound dog, mm-hmm. And then when it's time to go, buddy, when they can hear me off the charging table in here. They can hear me grab the collars in the house, and I'm telling you, they can hear them those buckles jingle.
Yep.
And I'm telling you, the entire kennel comes alive.
Yes, it does.
And it's unbelievable to watch them.
It also comes alive at 3 a.m. and that stupid bear walks behind your kennel too.
Yeah,
there is one.
Yep. There's always one that just stays around, and just runs on that ridge.
Yeah.
Yep. Well,
I know it happens because I'm sure you guys obviously know.
Yep. So I was actually away for work, and it was overnight, and so I'm, it's kind of sensitive work. What I mean? Mm-hmm. I need to be quiet. I'm out, like I said, performing duties, and next thing you know, Erin calls me, so I'm over there. Hello, and she's like, "Hey, what you need to do something. These dogs won't shut up." I'm like, "Erin, I'm 3 hours away. What do you want me to do?" She said, I don't know. There has to be a bear, and apparently a bear came just cruising behind the house and cruised up over that ridge and didn't know the dogs were there. And
I think what had happened, it went right behind the kennels, and then it went up a tree behind the kennels, I'm pretty sure, for a while, because it heard them and was surprised.
Yeah.
I don't think it was from the area. And, it stayed there for a while. which was real fun for us and all the neighbors, I'm sure.
Yeah, the neighbors just love us.
I'm sure they do.
Just love hound dogs. Surprisingly, actually, I really don't get any complaints. I've asked the neighbors, and they're like, "Oh, they really don't bother us," and I'm like, "You liar," But they only get fired up. Like I said, 3-4 o'clock in the morning when I go to load up to go hunting. Yeah, they're pretty excited. But the rest of the time, honestly, they're just extremely easy to live with, just easy to manage, and I can tell each one of them, to come sit, and I can put the collar on them, you know what I mean? I can let them all run. We got the kennel setup, of course you've seen, but, have it set up on the bench and then a fence all the way around it. So can open up all the kennels, let them run, play, exercise, socialize with one another. And it's really nice to see an entire kennel of dogs that I can take a hot dog, out there's 9 hounds. I can throw a hot dog in the middle of all of them. The one that gets it is the one that got it. The rest of them just look around like, where's mine? Not a growl, no scrap, no BS. It's just, they're bred to do their job. They're, and I do believe genetics plays a significant role in it, but also believe that what you do with them, and going back to, Erin and everything she did with them from the puppy development stages, and just really just getting them out of their element, doing stress tests, just doing this and that and a little bit of everything from that age up. And any, behavior that is unacceptable to you, correct it when you see it. Don't think that, that's it's a puppy being a puppy. If it growls as a puppy, it's going to growl as an adult. If they're going to growl over food, they might growl over a tree. They might growl over a kill, and then for us, that's just something we can't tolerate because, like I mentioned earlier, there's times where it might be 6 hours, and that's rare. Usually it does not take that long for us to get to a tree, but sometimes our terrain and, our, just
access
the access to what we have, that's something that we have to live with here. But to be able to, like I said, have dogs that they can live with each other, they can run with each other, I could put them in the same kennel and feed them together, you know what I mean? And to be able to do all that, put a handle on them, and just, figure out what you want in a kennel of dogs, figure out what makes you happy. And at the end of the day, like I said, I don't think it matters what color the dog is, what breed the dog is. If you like it, it pleases you, that's what you need to have at your house. We got what we got, and we kind of fell in love with what we have, and we're looking to, we like what we have, but we think we can make it better. And if we can, we will.
That's awesome. And I think you guys will, that's for sure. I've been very impressed with the progression of your breeding program over the time I've known you guys. I know when I first met you, obviously, like you said, you were basically just getting back into bear hunting, and you kind of had to start from scratch, and to watch from scratch to what you have now and the progression, it's been very impressive. And you're not afraid to cull dogs, and not, you call dogs out. And it was funny, me and Bradley were hunting together one time, and we were joking. We're like, we're hunting Chris's culls because every dog in that box, except for one, had been here at some point. And it's not that they just don't suit you. And some of it's just behavioral things. Like, like Cannon, she just was a barker, you know? Well, then she was also the wrong color, but.
that too.
But you weren't set on blues quite as hard that point.
Yep. I like I said, I did have a few plot dogs and actually really liked them. There was a few quirky things I didn't like. Like I said, there's just few behavioral issues that just didn't suit me. And and again, when I get, if I move a dog, sell a dog, doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad dog. It just doesn't suit exactly what I want. And when I evaluate a dog, when I and Erin evaluate a dog, because I value her input just the same, as mine or anybody else's. And I honestly, I value her input a lot more than I do most folks. And so when we evaluate a dog, it's a pretty big checklist. You know what I mean? And when I say from the ground up, I really do mean that. You know, we look at everything, and if it's not right, and it's gotten down to where I didn't like the mouth of a dog. I didn't like a dog, that did one thing or another, and I would move them. And I've had people that straight up told me that you're crazy. Why did you get rid of this dog? And I can come up with a reason. It's not hard for me to come up with a reason, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a good reason, and people might not see it the same way I do. But like I said, it's all about what you have. And
I think it's also about what works with your pack. I mean, you have a unit of dogs that have to work together, and if there's one that's just not meshing well with it, then
Rage is a prime example of that.
Really,
Rage in her, by herself was a great dog, but she just didn't fit well with your pack.
Yep. You're exactly right. And any advice that I can give to anybody is, whatever breed of dog you go with, do your best. If you're not a breeder, always, you always have that option of spay and neuter, but, don't, not, trying to, push that on anyone. But if you're going to pick a dog and you want to breed it, please do your homework, do the very best you can to, if you make a cross, to better that line, to better that breed. Don't just, make a cross just because it's available. It's in your backyard. It's here. It's there. If you can do it, by all means, we need to keep it going. We need to keep these lines and keep dogs going. We need to keep hounds in the woods. Curs in the woods as well, but we really need to get some youth out there, and it's all right now. What we can do at this stage in our lives is, to involve as many youth as we can and to better the breeding of these hounds and dogs and curs and whatever else, just to make what we have more successful down the road, and even, not to get political about it or anything, but even getting people involved, your local chapters, try to get people involved, and not just your local, but state, and see what's going on out there, because there's a lot of folk, trying to, push back on what we're doing and try to suppress it, and seeing that more and more and more. But if at all possible, just try to get involved in things, just get out there, enjoy what you're doing. It's all about, I'm telling you, like I said, it gets me excited just to think that, I'm going to load the hounds up. I'm going to go out, and it doesn't matter if I tree a bear or not necessarily, but just to be able to go out and have the privilege and the freedom to do that just excites me. And get to look out and see them puppies running around today in the yard, and it's always fun. I got an old tan bobcat hide, and throw that out in the yard and watch them, all of them just grab it from all ends. I look at that, and that's what I see as my future there, and then look at this old baby bump Erin's got here. I'm telling you, I feel like I'm a lucky man, and can't wait to see what the future holds.
You definitely are. So, well, I appreciate you guys sitting down with me tonight, and also opening up your house and letting me crash here once again.
Yeah, you know it. You're always welcome.
I appreciate it. So, thank you.
Oh, no, thank you very much.
You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Tree Talkin' Media. And until next time, keep 'em talking in the timber.